You must be thinking, man, I've heard that nurse anesthesia school is very expensive, or you've heard that it is a six-figure, salary, for example, to complete a nurse anesthesia program. Now, there are a lot of variations in school and a lot of differences in school. Some schools are cheaper versus more expensive. So in this video, we're going to talk all about that. So definitely keep watching. My name is Christine and welcome to new videos. Your first time here and you want to become a CRNA or grow your CRNA career. Start out by subscribing, hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. So yes, there's a lot of things online, a lot of videos online talking about, nurse anesthesia school is so expensive, can I really do it, how to prepare myself. And I'm here to give you some insight as well as some strategies to really prepare yourself when you're thinking about, a nurse anesthesia program to be financially stable. Because I know, for example, when I was growing up, things weren't easy for me. I had to work very hard for what I had. And, I wish I had a family that I had money. But for me, I struggled when I was young. And that's okay. And you know what? And it made me who I am today. And I'm humbled by it. And I don't take that for granted. Because you know what? I appreciate the hardships I went through to make me who I am today. And I feel because of that, I really learn about personal finance and how to really budget. And of course, I just don't waste. I believe in saving and saving for your future, saving for retirement. And now when you're thinking about, that's me as a current CRNA. But then you got to think about it too. When I was in school, what are some tips and tricks that I did, as well as some things I wish I had done to prepare myself when I was going through nurse anesthesia school. So for me, it was a little bit different. When I was initially going back for an advanced practice nursing degree, I was going for a nurse practitioner. I knew I wanted to be in a hospital environment, so I wanted to be acute care nurse practitioner, working in the ICU, doing a lot of critical care, working with those patients in the intensive care unit. I just knew that was my, the area I wanted to go into, right, initially. Now, so when I thought about that, I wanted to make sure when I worked at an institution that I was able to get some financial help from the institution to go to nurse practitioner school. So I went to NYU Langone Medical Center in New York City. And when you work at NYU Langone, the nice thing about it, working at a teaching institution, depending on the teaching institution, it could be a teaching hospital, it could be a veterans hospital, certain hospitals, they basically help out with, going back to school. So for example, I was in the ICU six months to a year, depending on, I know things have changed throughout the years. It may be a year now. After that year, they'll pay for you to go back to school. Now, of course, it's not 100%. Some schools give you 50% of the tuition. Some schools they may pay full for the tuition, but you have to pay taxes after a certain amount of money, which is pretty much you can't get away from that. But there are some hospitals that will help you go back to school for nurse practitioner or nurse anesthesia. So when I was going for my advanced practice degree in nurse practitioner, I actually went to school for free. Now, free, what does that mean? My tuition was fully paid for. So if tuition could have been $30,000, I don't know what it is today, but it was definitely expensive. However, I had to pay for taxes. So after it was $5,000, of course the IRS and the government, they're gonna want their share too. So I had to pay taxes on the specific tuition that I would have had to pay for. But for me, overall, I felt I was saving a lot of money. And the nice thing was, too, is that I was working full-time in the ICU, okay? Full-time in the ICU, and I was going to school part-time to be a nurse practitioner. So, of course, I was getting an income, I was getting money to save and to go to a school. So I was very financially stable. And then also I was going back to get my advanced practice degree, which I was so excited about. Because for me, I just love learning and growing. I believe knowledge is power, and I feel for me that worked best for me. So I was doing that initially. Now I put a lot of funds towards that. And I believe when I was younger, I wasn't saving as much as I wish I had, because I wasn't thinking about going to become a nurse anesthetist at that point. I want to be a nurse practitioner, and I was pretty much in a good situation then. It's a nice thing. If you want to become a nurse practitioner, depending on the program, there are part-time versus full-time programs, and you can work while you're getting a degree. So it's very financially, even if you didn't have, if say for example, you went to a smaller hospital and this hospital did not pay for you to go back to school for an advanced practice nursing degree. A lot of, nurse practitioner programs, you can work part-time. So basically you'll have a full-time income be able to help you to go to school. Now the difference now, when you go into a nurse anesthesia program, a lot of basically 90% of the program, there may be a couple of few, but mainly a lot of the programs are full-time programs. What does that mean? It's very difficult for you to work as an ICU nurse or a nurse in general and go to nurse anesthesia program. Now, maybe your first semester, I've met a student that, he was single, and he was able to work like a couple of shifts his first semester, but as of course the intensity of the program was increasing, he wasn't able to continue working in the in the ICU environment. For me, I couldn't because I had a newborn baby 6 days before I started nurse anesthesia school, and so for me it wasn't even an option to even think about working, having a baby, and going to school. So for me, I basically did not even think about working at nurse anesthesia school. And honestly, I don't recommend it. For me, from my experience and going through it, you really need that extra time for studying and, preparing for your clinicals, really understanding your, studying for boards, really knowing your knowledge, because you really need to take the time to digest it, and redigest it, because the information can be very intense. You can do it, honestly. If you really put the work in, you can do anything you put your mind to. There's no such thing as me being smarter than you versus whatever. I think we all have things that if we really want something bad enough, you can do it and you can go through it. I did it with a newborn baby, and I've had other classmates do it with multiple children or, being older. So it's definitely an option for you if you really want to go ahead and do it. But my recommendation is, if you are currently an ICU nurse, or maybe you are graduating from nursing school and you want to go into the ICU, or maybe you're in high school. In general, I believe saving is very important to help you be financially prepared for nurse anesthesia school. So I really believe in really trying to save as much as you can, making sure you have maybe having a separate bank account, taking a certain amount of your salary and putting it every single month, slowly accruing over time as you get your experience, having yourself a nice comfort for an emergency or even for tuition or even to help out with certain things. You never know what can happen. To have yourself, financially prepared for school. Now, yes, you can do that, because there are many CRNAs who have done that. They saved, they worked extra hours, they did overtime, they worked multiple jobs just to save a good amount of money to not even have to worry about, being any financial hardships when they were in nurse anesthesia school. Especially one of my friends, she went to nurse anesthesia school and she had triplets. And I think she did everything out of pocket, which was amazing. And you can do it too. So definitely that should be one of the things, saving. Now, also another thing is budgeting. Thinking about budgeting plans, making sure you're organizing your needs versus your wants, and really taking that into consideration. Because yes, we may want to go, spend a lot of money on restaurants, you may want to go out, and of course you need to have that fun time too. But you got to kind of think about your needs and wants and maybe trying to cut back a little bit. Because, when you are in school, you don't want to take out a lot of loans or maybe not take out any loans. So these are some tricks that you don't have to worry too much about. Now, also, you got to think about this too. Another thing you think about is scholarships. There are tons of scholarships out there for nursing, especially advanced practice nurses. So definitely look around for different scholarships. And now certain schools, they have scholarships within the school, depending on your GPA, depending on certain essays, certain type of qualifications, as well as think about a lot of these nursing professional organizations. Especially the AANA, they have scholarships as well. If you want to go into nurse anesthesia school, they have scholarships. Now, also think about this too. There are some hospitals, for example, you're planning to go to nurse anesthesia school. Some hospitals will say, hey, since you're going to be going to nurse anesthesia school, we want you to work at least 1 or 2 years at our institution with a contract, and we'll give you a stipend. That's always an option. I know a classmate who did that, and he basically got a stipend every single year, every single semester, every single year for nurse anesthesia school. But the thing is, when he graduated, he had to work there for a couple of years. So if that's an option, that's definitely an option as well. Now, maybe you're thinking about you're willing to be in the military. Military is another option. You know, they have for example, the Air Force has scholarships in general. I think there's a health professional, there's grants and gap programs where you can actually, you know, sign a contract that, you know, after you get your advanced practice degree in anesthesia, you just have to go into the military and be an officer or a lieutenant, depending on the ranking you get. And you can be in the military for a certain amount of years, XY years, depending on your contract, 3 to 4 years, and they'll pay for everything for your nurse anesthesia program. So they'll pay for your tuition, they'll give you a stipend, they may give you housing expenses. So that's something to think about if you're thinking about going into the military, and those are definitely options open to you. Another thing, so now when you're thinking about schools in general, now when you're looking at schools, one thing I recommend is looking private versus public schools. You know, resident versus, you know, resident, like you're a resident of that state versus your out-of-state resident. So now, say for example, you live in New York City, right? You live in New York State, and you say to yourself, you know what, I want to go to more of a public school, you know, I'm a resident there, you know, that's a great option. For example, when I went to nurse anesthesia school, I went to SUNY Downstate nurse anesthesia program in Brooklyn, New York, and it was a state university, which was nice. So tuition was much less, okay? And I was a resident of the state, so of course tuition was less. So for me, it was a very cost-effective program. Now think about it too. They have another program upstate New York called University of Buffalo, and they have a nurse anesthesia program. It is a state school, so you know it'll be a lower tuition, and if you're a resident of that state, it's even less expensive compared to maybe a more expensive, you know, place or an Ivy League school, or like for example Columbia. It's a private nurse anesthesia program, so tuition is gonna be a lot more higher. However, you know, those are different differences. So I definitely recommend, you know, applying to, of course, public versus private. But just note that private schools are gonna have a higher tuition, so you're definitely gonna have to save a lot more money, or maybe even take out student loans. Even depending on the public school, it can be expensive as well. But it's known that public schools are more cost effective. So these are some of the things that I recommend. So definitely start budgeting yourself, start saving for school. Even if you're thinking about going to a private school and you're in resident, save for emergencies, because anything can happen. And start budgeting now, so when you do get, you know, as you get older, you really know, you know, budgeting skills. I definitely have a video on budgeting and how to kind of make a template for yourself to start thinking about that, because you're never too young, you're never too old to learn how to budget. And you know what, it is nice that if you want to save for certain things, you kind of learn how to do that now, and definitely think about that. So if you want to learn more about CRNAs and how to grow your CRNA career, definitely click one of these videos over here, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.